do, we're going to have CJ Williams. Where is CJ? Oh, there he is. It's so hard with the lights when you're up here. So CJ is actually coming from West-MEC. And this is a wonderful and amazing CTE program that actually takes children from around Arizona, and they give them this career technical education opportunity here. So I'm not going to steal his thunder and tell you all about it, but I'm super excited, and I'm just thrilled that he could actually join us. They had to really move some things around to get him here, but welcome, CJ.
Thanks. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate that. So I'm going to see if I got this right. So I'm the dumbest person in the room, and I need you to help me solve a problem. Paul, how am I doing so far? Building some trust, breaking down the silos here. Well, as Kelly said, my name's CJ Williams. I'm the Director of Business Development and Government Affairs at West-MEC in Arizona. Some people will hear that and say, so you're the business development guy. Others will say, okay, so you're a lobbyist. But at the end of the day, I drank the CTE Kool-Aid long ago. I'm steeped in it, I've taught it, I've been a site administrator, and now have the privilege of really serving as an ambassador for West-MEC and the broader CTE community. What I want to start with really quick, and I know we're a little bit tight on time, so I'll try and pick up some of this so it's not all Adam's fault, who's coming up after me, that he stands between you and lunch, not me. But as you look at STEM education, just quickly in your mind, define that. Like, capture a quick working definition of STEM education. That if someone outside the field of education said, what is that? What do you do? What is STEM education? Just think about that. And now I'd like you to take 30 seconds and just share just at your table. We're not going to do a big share out because we don't have time for it, but just share at your table your working definition. There's no wrong answers, obviously. So 30 seconds and share. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back up here. I told you I was a teacher at one point, right? Well, I appreciate that. So raise your hand if everybody at your table had the exact same definition of STEM education. Probably very few had the exact same working definition of STEM education. I've been asking this question over the last few weeks that I knew that I was coming to this summit. And I've been talking to people, some that are in STEM education, some are in education, some are in business and industry, and everybody's got a different working definition of what this means. About half can tell me what STEM stands for. And then in terms of what it means applied and what it looks like, it's all over the place. You get a lot of different answers. And you know what? CTE shares a very similar story as we talk about CTE, career and technical education. I was on vacation last week and struck up a conversation with the family on the beach and told them I was in CTE, and they just looked at me like, what do those 3 letters stand for? What does that mean? If you Google it, it comes up with a lot of, I think one of them is like a medical diagnosis. But career and technical education really shares a similar history and story that STEM education has experienced. And if you think about, some people will say, oh, that's voc ed, that's like shop, home ec. It's like we've come a long way, and I'll touch on that in a second, but I want to really quick, because I'm so intent on capturing as much as I can. Kelly, Sal, I am so glad that I attended. This has been everything. Every touch point, every session, every speaker, every passing conversation has been impactful for me. And some of the big ideas, this is not an exhaustive list over the last day and a half, but for me, that I've connected with because it connects to my CTE experience, is this idea of application of the content. To me, that is where the real learning and retention and excitement occurs for a young person is when it's applied, when that skill, when that content, when that curriculum is applied. And I think CTE and STEM really share that. And I appreciated Lance and Jennifer and the work of Challenger Center and walking us through some of those experiential learning activities, because I think that was a good illustration. I also want, and the Al, and I think it's Wander Kits. Am I pronouncing that correctly? I don't know where our group is. But the career exploration, kind of the K-3 kit that they developed and the work being done with that, that's such a passion of mine to bring career exploration down to the early grades, because I think that's where it needs to start. I appreciated the Assistant Secretary's comments on, I believe it was her that talked about brokering your skills. They're the broker of their skills. I had not heard it worded that way before, but it really stuck with me, and I think that's powerful to be thinking about how we set students up to be the broker of those skills, because they will need to transfer those skills to new jobs over the course of their career, to new environments, into post-secondary, and so forth. I appreciated Maria with PSEG and the industry partnerships. This is my wheelhouse, sorry. And the power of business and industry coming into the world of education. I think we're really breaking into that space more than ever before. And I don't care if it's self-serving or not. I don't care if it's because they need the workforce and they're desperate for it. That's fine. Whatever it takes to get you at the table, we need to take advantage of the opportunity at hand. And then lastly, IS 528, fantastic job. I believe there's power in collaboration. That integrated approach, coming together and creating this experience for your students, is a model to be replicated. So thank you for contributing that and sharing your story with us. I want to, if I can, give you a picture of CTE circa the early 1960s. Anybody guess? Can you tell me what class this is? Shop? This was cutting edge stuff, folks. This was shoe rebuilding. Shoe rebuilding in the early 1960s. And as we look at the history of CTE, I won't go through all of these, but over 100 years ago was the first federal investment in vocational training. And that was the Smith-Hughes Act that established that federal funding for it in the early 1900s. You advance, and it slowly evolved over time, where you have the addition, at the beginning it was really just agriculture, homemaking, and the trades. It expanded to include education training and marketing, and then it expanded to really some name changes over time, and the establishment of vocational education centers in the 1950s. And in the 60s was really when CTE, or vocational education, got the label that it was for those kids, right? It was for disadvantaged or students that lacked academic ability. It was for those kids that weren't going to go on to college or have a stackable career experience. They were gonna get their hands dirty. And we're still, 50 years later, 60 years later, trying to overcome that perception with parents. And I have that conversation on a weekly basis. And then you get into the Carl Perkins funding. That was really in the 80s, and there's been several iterations of that to where we have today's career and technical education, and this is a long ways from shoe rebuilding. That's our little orange oasis out there in the desert. West-MEC is, again, in Arizona, just in the Western Phoenix Metropolitan area. This is one of our 4 central career and technical education campuses. And we're unique a little bit in Arizona. There's different states that have regional occupation centers or RTCs or other forms, but we have, and it's not lost on me that I am very lucky to work in a system that is so laser focused on career and technical education. This is all we do. We offer 29 unduplicated career and technical education programs that lead, all of them lead to a high value industry recognized credential. All of them have dual enrollment or dual credit earning opportunities so that they can take that experience on to post-secondary if they so choose. And it's my hope that we can all agree that, and I appreciated the earlier speaker's comments on the purpose of public education. And I do think that there's something to be said about a career and life and being a positive, contributing member of society. And this is not college or career. This is a pathway to a career and a productive life. That might include college, that might include an associate's degree, that might include a technical school, that might include career and technical education. But it's sitting with students and really engaging them in career literacy, having those conversations with them, mapping that out. What type of lifestyle do you want to have? What are some of your dreams? What are you passionate about? Where do you want to live? What kind of flexibility do you want? I mean, we live in a very different time. So having those conversations, we map that out. And this afternoon, I'll be sharing a session where I'll talk about career literacy, what we're doing with students to really help them map that out, and what we're doing with parents, because sometimes that's the roadblock and not the student. But I did have another video that I'll hold off on because it will take a little bit more time. But please, if you have any questions for me, I bleed orange. That's our color. All of our buildings across the West Valley are orange. And very, very proud of the work that we're doing in Arizona at West-MEC. Would love to sit down, and again, the conversations I've had so far have been extremely engaging, and I've benefited greatly from those conversations, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here.